Hello, everybody. It's Paul Neeson with Torah Life Ministries. I'm very excited about our guest today, Brianna Exted. Brianna, say hello to the Torah Life audience.
Hello.
Brianna, it's great to have you on the show. And Brianna, I had your mom on the show previously, and she gave a great testimonial about modesty, and she spoke about the different types of how you got into being believers and so on. So, can you just kind of give us a recap of your background and how you grew up, and then when your heart turned to start just living a more biblical lifestyle?
Yes, my home life was atheistic, and I didn't really care any either way. Um, I would have been fine in any home situation, or I thought anyway. And my mom started taking us to churches, and it was all fun and games for me, and I enjoyed it because you got to have fun and sing wild songs and dance around and then when we started going to a Mennonite church, that was the first time I really realized that not everybody was this way. Not everybody was wild, and church wasn't all about fun and games. And it was really neat to see other children and other youth upholding moral values and not being wild and going through all of it with my mom. Her life and all the changes she went through was just a good experience for me. And I would say when I was 11 or 12, I wanted to wear a head covering. And Mom told me she didn't want me wearing one unless I knew why I was wearing one. Because if I got stopped in the grocery store, she wasn't going to explain for me why I was wearing a head covering. And so I just read and read, and I just saw it. I saw it in the Bible that I needed to wear one, and I decided to wear one. And then I thought, well, I can't just wear a head covering. I have to just obey everything, because if I just obey the head covering, then that's just not right. So I started wearing a head covering when I was 11 or 12, I think, somewhere in there. And I started trying to practice everything, because that was what I needed to do.
Now, most women that wear a head covering today, they'll like just cover part of their head, and they'll let their hair show out. And I see your head covering; you're completely covering your hair. Do you see a significance to both of those?
Well, I used to wear it farther back, and more of my hair would show. Part of it's just personal preference, because my hair is crazy and it goes everywhere. And but another reason is I still would get comments on my hair if a little bit did show. And I mean, in more shows than this, like my veil will slip back, but I'll fix it. But I just try to cover it all as much as possible.
Yeah, and actually, the original way that people wore it in biblical times was the way you're wearing it now, where the ears are actually covered and the head's covered, the hair,
Mhm.
all the hair's covered. Now, there are people today that are actually women today that say they don't wear a head covering because they don't want to look Muslim. But a head covering what's your opinion about a comment like that?
Well, I say I'd rather be mistaken for a Muslim for dressing too modestly than for somebody more liberal for not dressing modest enough.
Wonderful, that's great, that's great. So,
And then I
yes.
also say, who came first? Because did the Christians get their dress style from the Muslims, or did the Muslims get their dress style from the Christians?
Exactly. Exactly. Very good. Very good. So then and so you're a young woman dressing modestly, not only the head covering but in all your dress. How do your friends or other children your age, how do they look upon you? What do they say to you?
Oh, I'm just crazy. um, I've lost most of my friends because of dressing this way. And the ones that still do talk to me, just the ones that can get past my clothes, they start liking me. They still think I'm very weird and radical. And another thing that most people cannot comprehend is that I do not have a boyfriend. And most girls just cannot comprehend or stand that, and that they can't hang around me because of it.
It's where do you see the youth today and the way they're brought up? I mean, do you see it? what direction do you see it heading in? Do you see them coming closer to biblical standards or farther away?
They're sliding backwards fast, and it's really sad to see. And I try to reach out a lot to the youth, um, in whatever way I can, and just warn them. This isn't the right direction you're going. It's dangerous. Stop. But most of them are not very excited to hear that and would rather just go on with what they're doing.
And do you think growing up an atheist and your strong stance now for living a biblical set apart life, do you think growing up atheist has helped you become more stronger now, or do you think it doesn't make a difference? It's just who you are.
Um, I don't think I'd be quite this way if I grew up differently. Well, I know I wouldn't. um, it is easier, I think, because um, people will come up to me and say, "You've always been this way. You've never known anything different. Your dad has always told you what to do, and you this, this, and this." People just say that, and I think it is a blessing growing up in a Christian home. But then people that haven't, they also have their blessings on that side too. I can relate more with the worldly girls having to change. It's easier to reach out to the world when you knew what the world was like yourself, I guess would be the way to explain it. I don't know.
Sure. And for the sake of the video here, what is your age? So people don't.
I will be 18 in a couple weeks.
Wow, wow. And it's just so different in today's world. And there's like this. I don't know if you watch TV, and I assume you don't, and it's a good thing. You don't watch TV, correct?
No.
Uh, there's a show on TV on it's about being pregnant and a teenager,
Uh-huh.
and it's actually become a trend today amongst teenagers to have babies,
Yeah.
and so I mean, what do you want to say to women like that? Because you grew up, in a worldly environment now, and you've gotten out of it. So what's your message to young women here that don't see any problem with sleeping around or dressing immoral, even if they don't want to sleep around, just dressing immoral? What would you want to say to them?
Well, I just want to tell them to stop. Hold on. What are you doing? It's just, this is very serious what you're messing around with. I see marriage as a very serious thing, especially growing up without my dad. Um, it's just nothing to mess around with. And I see these girls out there just doing this, and it's just really saddens me. And I warn them. I do. I just warn them that it's very serious.
So do you have any friends at all that you say you lost all your friends, but do you have any friends that think the way you think and dress the way you dress?
Yes, I have a few friends in the world yet that I guess you would say tolerate me. Um, and I have several friends that do believe the same as I do. Um, but even you'll get inside of the dressing modestly circles, and lots of them, you can dress modestly but still have a worldly heart. And I've had several friends that are that way, and I have since stopped talking to them, or they've stopped talking to me. But I do have several friends that are upholding purity and dressing modestly and separateness to the world.
So you do think people can dress modestly and still have a worldly heart?
Yes,
Okay,
very much so.
what about the reverse? Do you think people can dress immodestly and have a holy heart?
I think that if you dress immodestly and you have a holy heart, you will be led to dressing modestly. I don't think you will stay in that position.
I see. And when we talk about dressing and stuff, some people use the excuse often they just can't find modest clothes. And you actually make modest clothes. You actually you sew you put your own outfit that you wear now together, and you sew other clothes, and tell us a little about how you got into making your own clothes and why.
Well, we wanted to we when we first started dressing modestly, we didn't have money. Well, we still don't, but we didn't know what to do, and we didn't know how to sew. So we would go to the thrift stores and just find the most loose, baggiest things we could and wear that. And it worked for a time, but then we decided to go even a step further. And so one of the churches we were going to at the time taught my mom how to sew a little bit, and we started to make our own clothes. And then we just realized what we were wearing was not even yet as modest as we wished it would be. And we had a dear friend who was talking about tunics, and we were just like, that's what we want to wear. My mom just really wanted a tunic, and so she made one. She found a pattern somewhere, I think, and made her first one, and it didn't have sleeves, and it was just like a smock kind of thing. And anyway, then we found this website on the internet, and it was a Muslim clothing website. And somewhere in there, my mom decided I needed to learn how to sew because she was tired of sewing. She said, I'm tired of sewing. So I said, okay. And turned out I had a knack for sewing, and I really loved to do it. And right in there, we found this website, and I started seeing their tunics with the long sleeves, and they would have been more form-fitting, because you see a lot of Muslims nowadays that they dress in clothes that cover them from head to toe, well, some of them, but it's still form-fitting and stylish. But I would see those and get ideas for myself, and then I started creating my own ideas and patterns and my own clothes with ideas from that website. And my goal is to offer modest clothing at a reasonable price for those who don't have money. Because like this Muslim website, one of these would cost like $60+. And most people just don't have that kind of money to spend on clothes. And it is hard to find modest clothes, but it is out there. So,
Sure. I just can't help to think that here you are, a 17-year-old woman, and if you didn't have a head covering on right now, and your hair was made up like most of the young girls today, people would definitely treat you different.
mm,
And it's just so obvious, and people know that, but they don't want to be treated the way you're treated. They want to be treated different, as an object instead of a person.
mhm,
And that's where the underlying issue is. Don't you agree?
yeah. And I have a friend in the world who goes to school, and she said there's nothing she can do about it. The boys just like her. She said there's nothing I can do about it. And I said, well, you think if I went to your school, the boys would be doing what they're doing to you? Would they do it to me? And she said, no way.
Yeah.
And I said, don't you think that has some meaning to it? You know?
Sure. Now, some women will tell me they don't wear a head covering because it's too uncomfortable, it's too hot, or it's too heavy. Uh, do you use a certain material for your head coverings, or do you just get used to it?
Well, you have to get used to it. It is miserable at times, but it's worth it. 100% cotton head coverings is the best way to go, but that's not always an option for me. Sometimes I have to wear something else, and I'll just deal with sweating.
Sure, sure. Well, this is just wonderful information, and I pray that young women will be listening, and learning how to sew is such an important thing today as well. So,
Yes.
what's your website address where people can see what you've done and also possibly contact you?
Etsy.com, and then type in modestly covered or modest tunic, and mine will come up.
Okay,
Or
okay,
extra long head covering. That'll come up. If you type in extra long head covering, it'll come up.
okay,
I have a blog, modestlycovered.blogspot.com.
okay. And can people contact you through that if they need to for a question or so?
Yes.
Well, as we get some questions, I want everyone watching to post your comments and questions below. And as we get these questions, can we have you as a guest again on the show?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
All right, shalom, shalom.
Come out of the world, oh my people, seek the truth, avoid the evil, learn Yahweh's ways, Torah life ministries, come out of the world.